With the recent loss to the Longhorns, what will be in store for Coach Beard and his crew as they head out to Waco? After sweeping the weekend series in Tallahassee, can Tadlock's team keep up their hot streak? Were players able to prove themselves in the NFL Combine? And will this year's Selection Sunday have more drama than most? Find out next. MCTV Sports 101 starts now. Hey there, sports fans, and welcome to MCTV Sports 101. I'm Austin Seat.
And I'm Ryan Heller. Texas Tech basketball was defeated by the Texas Longhorns 68-58 on Saturday. The Red Raiders were up 37-30 at halftime, but they were not able to hold on to the lead as they fell apart in the second half, being outscored 38-21. Tonight, they will head out to Waco, Texas to take on the Baylor Bears at 8 p.m. Austin, what do they need to do if they are to have any hope of pulling off this upset at Baylor?
Well, I'll be honest. I thought looking at the Texas game, I thought there was a lot of stuff that they did right. I think at the end they need to finish. They need to work on finishing their games, and especially with Oklahoma, completely different story. We're not going to talk about that. Texas, I think if they could have won that game, I think if they had just stayed strong and finished.
Yeah. And
I think that's what Chris Beard is going to teach them. I think to pull off the upset, it's going to be difficult. It's going to require all of the players: Moretti, Ramsey, Holyfield, Edwards, Shannon, McCullough, who's playing really well. He's been playing really well these past few games.
He does have a bright future. That kid.
Yes, he does. But it's going to take them all playing collectively as a team together and balling out essentially to beat the Baylor Bears, who I think are ranked number 4 in the country.
They are
right
ranked
now.
number 4.
So, and then Kansas and then they play Kansas in the last game, who is ranked number 1. So it's going to take a lot for them to beat both.
What annoyed me about this game was that it just looked to me like, and everyone I talked to says the same thing, Texas somehow wanted it more.
Well, Texas had to have it more because as of right now, and we have a topic about this on Selection Sunday in the committee and yada, yada, yada. We'll talk about that later. But I'm going to make this point. They say that there's a potential for 4 teams from the Big 12
possibly
to make it into the tournament, possibly 5.
Yeah.
As of right now, the 4 that are in, according to the bracketology, is West Virginia, Texas Tech, Baylor, and Kansas.
Yeah.
They say the 5th team is either going to be Oklahoma or Texas. And for them to do that, they would have had to win out all the games and impress the committee in the Big 12 tournament, and they would be one of the first 4 in, which would be in that first 4 games. So,
but this was still but which is weird. You would think Texas Tech would want it more after being embarrassed in Norman. You would think that they'd want to come out and show the fans, hey, we're going to bounce back from that and win. Mm-hmm. That was not the case, especially on the boards, on the rebounding. They clearly wanted it more. We basically had to run into them head first just to get a rebound off of them. And I feel like that was huge, and also not to mention the fact that the defense was very bad. We let them get 52% shooting from the field, which is not good at all. These look to be out-hustled now, rebounded. Now, granted, McCullough had 12 points, Ramsey had 13 points and 6 assists. They played well, but
Shannon with 10, Murray with 11. So they played very well. But you got to give credit where credit is due to that Tech that Texas team. They clearly want to get a shot in that tournament along with Oklahoma, so it'll be interesting to see if they can continue this.
They outplayed Tech, but in order to beat Baylor upset, they cannot do that. They have to show some physical aggression.
I agree with that. Well, this past weekend, the Red Raider baseball team went out to Tallahassee, Florida to take on Florida Atlantic for 1 game and Florida State for 2 games. They defeated Florida Atlantic on Friday 7-1. Then they beat Florida State on Saturday 6-5 in 11 innings and 4-3 yesterday. They will be coming home for a two-game mid-series against UNLV. They will play at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow and at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. Ryan, what impressed you about this series, and how do they keep it up against UNLV? Pardon me, I can't read for some reason.
That's okay. Today. That's okay. We've all had those days.
It's been a week. We've had a week off.
But what really impressed me was, not just the Florida Atlantic game, but also the fight that Texas Tech had, because it was easier to watch the 2 Florida State games because they were on the ACC network. But what I loved is that the fight, because both games Texas Tech fell behind of Florida State. They were down against them both times and came back to win, especially Saturday in extra innings. They were down 4-1. They came from behind to tie it up 4-4. Down 5-4, came back, tied up with the homer by Drew Baker, and they just showed that resilience. Especially what I was impressed with was the base running of that freshman Dylan Carter.
Yeah. When
Dylan Noisy got that ground out and the third baseman made the error throw to first base, he ran from second to home and like that.
Yeah.
So which I loved that, and also resiliency in the second game as well. They were down a couple times as well there. So
I do agree.
like
I do agree with you between the 3 games, at least from what I've seen here on the box score from the games, is that the resiliency, the ability to kind of hang in there and hang with, at least in response to Florida State. I think with Florida Atlantic, they were able to, they got the first point. Then Florida Atlantic had the resilience, but then Tech came back and scored 6 runs in the last 3 innings. So,
but that was a good pitching duel for like the 5-6 innings.
Oh
the
yeah,
Atlanta
for sure.
game. But then eventually they showed they were the better team.
But I do agree with your point. It's that resilience that this Tech baseball team has to when being down, which I think is something that I don't want to say they didn't have in last year's season, but I think there was a lack of in last year's season. So I think this year it does make prominence, and it has bumped Tech up to number 2 in the country.
Yes, and so that's why that this was huge. This particular weekend series was huge because this was their first, no disrespect to Houston Baptist in Northern Colorado, no disrespect to them, but this was their first true test of the year. And yes, Stanford and Tennessee were good tests. Houston, average team, but had to take them to extra innings. But this was a true test. This was a top 15 matchup, and they were able to pull away on the road. So I think this is going to be huge for their confidence as well.
I think it is too, and it's going to be interesting to see how they face up against UNLV, Rice, Mississippi State, and then their first Big 12 game against West Virginia,
which we will watch over the spring break.
Agreed.
Well, with the college basketball regular season coming to a close next week, we will soon have Selection Sunday. What this is this takes place after the conference tournaments and is when the NCAA selection committee selects the 68 teams that will play in the NCAA tournament. Now, they don't only just select the teams, but they decide which teams will be what seed ranking from seeds number 1 through 16. Usually figuring out who the top teams are is a given, but with so many number 1 teams losing this year, the top seeds might be more up for grabs than usual. Austin, how do you think this Selection Sunday will play out this year?
It's going to be a cluster, and the reason I say that, because of I don't think I've seen a basketball season, at least for the NCAA, like this.
Yeah.
It's been a weird season. I mean,
so many 1 seeds losing, especially within the first 2 months.
One of them involves our Red Raiders in Texas Tech earlier in the season.
Beating Louisville in Madison Square Garden.
Exactly. So how do I think the committee is going? Well, obviously, here's the big one. We know the conference champions automatically get the bye.
Automatic.
How they rank them, I don't know. I think they're going to pick the top seeds to be if it were me, I'd give it to the top 4 teams in the country if it ended right now.
Yeah.
Which in this case I think is
Dayton.
Kansas is number 1.
Kansas, yeah.
Gonzaga is number 2. Dayton's number 3, and Baylor is number 4. Though if I was making the selection right now, those would be my number 1 seeds.
Right.
And then go from there. But it is interesting to see how they do the 2 through 10. I'd say the 2 through 12, maybe 2 through 13, or 3 to 13 slots.
I'd say like 2 through 7 to me is going to be the most interesting ones.
Well, I say 2 to 10 because you have so many teams: Duke, Tech, North Carolina to some extent.
Now Virginia after they beat Duke.
Virginia. I mean, you have so many teams beating ranked teams, and then so many ranked teams losing to unranked teams. What was it the other day? Was it Creighton just lost?
Creighton lost. Villanova lost. Baylor lost to TCU. By the way,
after losing to Kansas.
So I'm a little worried about Baylor right now. If I'm the selection committee, I'd be a little skeptical about putting in Baylor as a number 1 overall seed right now because they've lost 2 out of 3.
I said if the season ended now, then I'd put them at a number 1. But they still have 2 games left.
And they've lost 2 of their last 3. So that's a little. If I'm the committee, at least right now, I'd be a little skeptical about putting them as a 1 seed overall.
Which I would be confident for Tech because they've lost 2 of the last 3. So it'll be. But and again, in Baylor's mind, they think we're already in the tournament. Let's just go out and try to make a run for the ship. But that's how I think they're going to do it. I think it'll be interesting to see. What'll be interesting to see, and for a lot of people, is going to be, it's who's going to get the number 1 seeds, the 4 number 1s, and then who's going to be the in and out. Who's going to be the first 4 games. So who are going to be the 8 teams in the first 4? That to me is what's going to be the most interesting out of the. And
that's what I believe the conference tournaments are really going to decide. Who's going to be those first 4 outs? Who's going to be those first 4 ins once they're on the boat?
The conference tournaments, I don't think is going to be. I don't think it's going to help determine who the first 4 in or out is. What I think the conference tournaments are going to do is help. It's help decide. Okay, we know these teams have to get in. Like however many teams are in.
We're trying to get into the tournament, not the NIT.
Yeah, where do we place them?
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting for the committee come Sunday, but we still have 2 more regular season games for a lot of teams, plus the conference tournament. So I think the committee will have a little bit of help going into it. But as if they did it right now, it would be trouble.
But this is definitely going to be interesting, considering like I believe because like so many teams lost. Michigan State lost. Duke lost to Stephen F. Austin. Kentucky lost to Evansville. Louisville lost to us. The only true consistent #1 seed throughout this whole year was
Baylor, and then they finally lost to Kansas.
Exactly. So like it's been a weird one.
It is. So it'll be interesting to see.
It will be.
Well, the NFL Combine took place this week. Many college football players tried to show off their skills in front of the 32 NFL scouts. In this event, the players went through many workout routines like the 40-yard dash, vertical jump, and 3-cone drill. For some players, it was to improve their draft stock. For others, it was to make a notable name for themselves. One of those players included Texas Tech linebacker Jordan Brooks, who was a participant in the Combine. So, Ryan, who do you believe helped their draft stock in the Combine?
Well, one of them I think.
Sorry, I had an itchy nose there.
No, that's okay. One of them I think helped his stock was Jake Fromm, a quarterback from Georgia. He had a very, very impressive Combine. But one who I believe hurt his stock was Jalen Hurts. He did not appear to have a very good Combine, which I think that's going to hurt. And he was already, in many mock drafts, in actually almost all of them, he was already not projected to be a top 10 or top 15 pick anyway, so I think that he needed to have a good Combine, needs to have a good pro day. But other than that, he might be in a world for he might possibly be a mid-first round pick or possibly a first-round pick.
I think for me, the top at least in my opinion, and this I've kind of looked at others because I got a few glimpses of the Combine. My 3 winners would probably be Isaiah Simmons, Isaiah Simmons, Sean Bradley, and then Ross. I think his name's Blacklock. Ross Blacklock.
Yeah.
Those would be the 3 that I think would have won majority of the Combine. I mean, I've got some stats here. I think that what will really help out is the fastest time the fastest time of the Combine, or at least for the 40-yard dash, was at Henry Ruggs from Alabama, who had a 4.27 for this. I think he tied the record. I don't think he beat the record.
No, I don't think he broke the record.
Okay, and then like you have some others here like Denzel Mims from Baylor. But some notable things for the draft would have to be
Jordan Brooks,
but also the LSU's quarterback Burrow.
Joe Burrow. He didn't even participate.
Well, but, small hands.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because apparently you can't have small hands to be a quarterback.
Unless you're Pat Mahomes, because it's working out for him.
or also Jim Zorn, a former quarterback for the Seahawks. But I mean, that's just a couple.
Who's keeping track?
Right there. Yeah.
So, but I mean, I thought there were a lot of notable non-participants in this draft that I think that it could have helped their stock, or it could have improved it. So
a couple that I'm surprised did not get an invite was obviously one of our cornerbacks, Douglas Coleman, who was one of the leaders in the Big 12 in interceptions. Another one was the quarterback for North Texas, Mason Fine, who a lot of people said could be an underrated player. He did not get an invite to the Combine, which I thought was very shocking to me, because he actually did have a very good senior season. Other than that, I also was very impressed with Jordan Brooks. He had one of the fastest times of the linebackers as far as 40-yard dash. So I think that helped him improve his draft stock. He could probably get drafted, I'd say 3rd, 4th round.
Yeah, so I mean the draft. I mean, let's be honest. The draft isn't really the Combine isn't really to show. It doesn't really show a person's skill or heart or determination.
Right.
What it shows is your skill, and it's basically used to help improve your draft stock. So you can't really. I mean, there are some notable non-Combine participants that have obviously gone out and done very well in the NFL. So it'll be interesting.
Romo.
Yeah, well, he went undrafted, so that's all. Yeah. That, my friends, is a whole nother story altogether. I really wish he had won an NFL championship or a Super Bowl, but we're not going to go into that.
Yeah.
Because then I will go onto a rant like you will with the Houston Rockets.
And we don't want another one of those now,
Yeah,
do we?
oh, trust me, not with me, you don't. So please leave it in the comments section. Let us know what your thoughts were of the Combine or what we've discussed up here so far. Well, now it's time for Who You Got. To start off, we have the Dallas Mavericks versus the New Orleans Pelicans on Wednesday. Ryan, who you got?
Well, I'm still not all for the Zion hype. I'm more of a believer in the hype for Luka, so I'm going to pick the Dallas Mavericks on this one. I think that the Mavericks are the better team as well. You look at Luka, he seems like he is recovering from his injury very, very nicely. He's averaging 28 points a game. He's averaging almost 9 assists.
Yeah.
And also Kristaps is doing very well. He's averaging 10 rebounds. He's averaging 2 blocks a game. What I like is that they are second in the league in turnovers. They're averaging the second fewest turnovers. And their assist-to-turnover ratio is 2. That's third in the NBA, which means that they're very selfless with the ball. They don't beat themselves, which I like. And I think that a very inexperienced team in New Orleans, I think that's going to help them against New Orleans.
I agree. I'm also going to go with the Mavs on this one, mainly because what shocked me the most about the Mavs is how well they're playing without Dwight Powell and his season-ending injury. Kristaps actually coming into his own with the team. Like you said, Luka Doncic is playing very well. I've seen a few of the games he looks very well. Hardaway Jr. Seth Curry is really doing well. And then on the other, but unlike you, I do believe in the Zion hype. I've seen him play. He does look in the few games in the games that he has played. He's really helped that Pelicans team kind of bump up. I think they're right now they're 9th. As far as playoff rankings, right behind the Grizzlies, so I think they can actually push for a playoff run. And if they do, I think you give him Rookie of the Year, despite how many games he's played. But I'm going with the Mavs on this one, and I really hope that one of these one of the picks were opposite of each other. I do beat you because you are beating me by 1 in our record. So
yes, I am currently 11-7.
I knew that lead wasn't going to last very long, but it was only a matter of time. But I was still helping out. So.
Well, I mean, like, it's not even spring break yet, so like, you do
still
have
plenty
some
of time. I still have plenty of time.
You do have time. Yeah, because again, like last year, this year it's more of an even start. Last year I got off to a really hot start.
Yeah,
and this year it's more even.
Really, really hot start.
So like this year it's more going to be of a closer match. Well, up next we have the Miami Heat facing off against the Orlando Magic. Also this Wednesday, 2 teams that are trying to solidify their spots in the playoffs. Austin, who you got?
Well, right now both of these teams are already if it ended right now, are in the playoffs. Magic are in the 8th spot, whereas the Miami Heat are in the
the Magic are trying to stay
4th spot. Yeah, so the Magic are kind of in the same position that the Grizzlies are, and they're trying to keep up their stats. I'm going with the Magic on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going with the Magic on this one. I think they need to get some wins to kind of separate themselves from the rest of the pack. I think that Aaron Gordon is kind of out for revenge after not winning the slam dunk contest.
A second time. He should have won 2, by the way. He should have 2.
Yes, he should have won 2. So I think that they're going to rally off of him and that he's going to lead them. I don't know if they'll reach that 7th spot, which I don't know who in the East holds the 7th spot. Is it?
I believe it's the Nets.
Okay. Actually, you know what? I think they will kind of move up into that 7th spot because the Nets don't have Kyrie or Durant. So I think that they'll move up into that 7th spot and kind of get out of that 8th spot bubble.
See, for me, I'm going to go with the Miami Heat. I think that
reasonable. Jimmy Butler's obviously playing well.
Oh, 20 points a game. He's averaging 6 assists. And also, don't forget Bam Adebayo. He's averaging over 10 rebounds a game as well. But what's also impressed me is like they've won 2 in a row, but also their last 2 games, they have really gotten help from their bench. You look at Goran Dragic, is playing well. He's getting him solid minutes. Jay Crowder is still showing that he still has something. Andre Iguodala is showing that veteran leadership. And also what I like is their last 2 games, their wins against Brooklyn and against Dallas, they out-rebounded them both. And also Tyler Hero is showing to be a very good rookie. He's showing that he can eventually be a starter at some point in very soon in his career. So right now, yeah, I think the Miami Heat are going to be able to withstand the Magic.
Very reasonable. They are off on a hot streak. They are in, I think, the 5th seed?
They're the 4th last I checked.
4th last you checked. Okay, so they're in the 4th seed. They're obviously trying to make a push.
Yeah, they're trying to get home court advantage for 4 games for the first round. They're trying to seal that. So this is going to be important.
So I think the NBA is really close this year. I think all the teams are really on both conferences. Normally the Western was more powerful than the East. I still believe that, but
the West has been the more powerful for I'd say the last.
Well,
I would say the last decade.
What we mean by more powerful is that there's more competitive teams in the West compared to the East. Normally, it's been about 4 to 5 in the West, 1 in the East. Now it's kind of getting to the point where like 2, 3, maybe even 4 and 5.
Because during the times when LeBron was with the Heat, the East was, I'd say, 2, maybe a 3-team league, and then the rest was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's been more even, which is good.
Mm-hmm. Well, on Thursday, we have the Houston Rockets, your favorite team, versus the LA Clippers. Ryan, who you got?
Well, that's my favorite. They're my home team, but of course I'm going to go with the Rockets because they're my home team. But also, here's the thing: I am not totally on the bandwagon yet as far as the small ball because I don't exactly know how it will work in the playoffs. But as far as the regular season, it's working well.
Yes.
So I don't exactly.
You have both Harden and
Westbrook. And also Robert Covington, he is proving to be a great trade. I don't like that they gave away Capella for it, but I love that they traded to get Covington, bringing him back to Houston. But no, I am concerned about the small ball, but I think that the small ball lineup is a good matchup against the Clippers because they have shown to not really be able to handle it well the 2 times that they defeated LA. In 2 of the 3 games, they beat him twice, and they did minimal use with Capella, and it was able to beat them. So I think that they'll be able to do it again.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with you against you on this one. I'm going to go with the Clippers on this one. And the reason I say that was because I recently watched, I think it was they played the Nuggets, who's the number 2 seed right now.
Yes.
I didn't watch the end of that game because it was a really late game. It was in LA. But from what I saw in the first quarter and much of the first half, that was when they had Kawhi Leonard and PG-13 on the court. They got off to a hot start. I think it was it was like 12-3 or something when I turned around and to get something. But I mean, they haven't had everyone healthy this season, which could be a problem in the playoffs. But right now they're resting them, trying to get them healthy for that playoffs because right now they're a shoo-in for the 3rd seed.
So they're trying to go for that load management.
Exactly. Well, a lot of teams are, especially like Antetokounmpo and the Bucks. But
the Rockets are even trying to do load management with Westbrook because he's not playing one of two games whenever they do back-to-backs. So
right. So the load management is the thing. But here you have like Kawhi. Right now the 2 leading scorers for the team is Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Kawhi with 27 points a game. Paul George with 21. Kawhi is basically leading the team in everything except for blocks. I mean, steals 1.8 a game, rebounds 7.5. My mistake, Lou Williams is really leading in assists at 5.9 a game. So obviously they're playing very well. I do think they can make a run at the championship. I hope they stay the 3 seed just so I can see a LA or a Clippers Lakers.
Everybody wants to see an all LA conference
Western Conference Finals.
Everybody wants to see that, and the only thing standing in the way of that is Houston and Denver. That is it, just Houston and Denver.
Exactly. So I'm gonna go with Clippers on this one.
This is going to be a good one because this is basically. From looks of the standings, the winner of this game gets the 3 seed right now. Well, to finish it off, we have an XFL matchup. We have the Dallas Renegades and the New York Guardians in the XFL. Austin, who you got?
This is going to be an easy one for me. I got the Dallas Renegades.
Okay.
It's near my hometown. I'm a Dallas guy, so I'm going to go with the Renegades on this one. They've been playing very well over these. Or they didn't play well in the first one because they didn't have their quarterback, which we found out was
Landry Jones.
And then he played in the second game, got them off to a win against the Seattle Dragons. Then they played the Houston Roughnecks, I think last night or last Saturday.
And they lost, and I know that because the Roughnecks are still the only undefeated team.
And they lost in a close game. So I think it's going to be maybe the Roughnecks and the Renegades in like an all Texas final at the end of the season. So that'll be fun. I think because after that game, there's going to be a rebound game for them. Excuse me.
Well, due to the last game where the Dragons, when the Dragons wet the bed, they really didn't give me much of a choice on who to pick on this one, so I'm going to go with the Renegades. I feel like since Dallas did get off to a very bad start. I mean, yes, they didn't have Landry Jones, but they also did get off to a rough start. They weren't there themselves, but they have definitely improved throughout the next few weeks. And Landry Jones. Yes, 7 interceptions, but 5 touchdowns with 784 yards passing. And also Donald Parham, 273 yards and 4 touchdowns. They're doing very well. So I think this is going to be a win for Dallas. I think that now I think they've gotten. I think their chemistry is starting to build up a little bit more, and I think they're going to.
I think that's true for all the XFL teams that are as the weeks goes on. I think
This is literally their first years together.
Yeah. So well, and you got to remember, like some of them probably haven't played football in a while, so
Because they're usually backups.
yeah, exactly. Backups, or they didn't get, or they never got a shot, or they haven't played since college. So it's interesting to see how they come together as a team in just a few weeks. So, but I think this XFL is different than from what most teams are. I think
I was honestly shocked. I thought, and now I when it started, I made a prediction. I predicted that if the ratings, of course, obviously they're not going to be what they were the
week one,
but if they stay at least stagnant and similar to what it was with week one for the next 2-3 weeks, it will most likely stay the whole year. And so far, my prediction is coming true on that. Because it's been 4 weeks. It's still going on. They're still getting some very good ratings. So I think it'll probably stay a year. Now, whether it'll stay longer than a year, that we don't know.
Yeah, that will have to be determined as the next NFL season goes on. So it'll be interesting to see.
It will.
Well, that's our show for this week's edition of MCTV Sports 101. Join us next week for the latest big name stories in sports. I'm Austin C.
And I'm Ryan Heller. We will see you next time.
I thought you were going to get it in the camera.
I thought I was too, honestly. I thought I was.